What an enormous pleasure and what a privilege to be able to share this with este gran señor, Don Bill McDonough, who is doing such great things around the world. Thank you, sir. I have to take off this afternoon. We are launching the Global Ocean Commission, which is something that I'd like to share with you. We've been working on this for 18 months. But let me begin by saying how relevant and important this gathering is from my perspective. I've come from a country that has privileged itself in trying to be very proactive on the environmental front. 92% of energy is renewables, 34% of our national territory is set aside as national parks and wildlife reserves. We have a carbon tax which we put into place during my administration back in 1995, 7.5% payable at the gasoline station when you purchase your fuels. It goes into an environmental services fund that then purchases environmental services throughout the country, like fixing of carbon. It packages some of those environmental services and exports them, et cetera, et cetera. And yet we have not been able to crack the nut on plastics. So having all of you here with your background, your expertise, and your work on this is relevant not only to the world, but if I may say so respectfully, also to tiny Costa Rica, that would look forward to learning more about your work, your conclusions, and how we can put them into practice. You know a lot more about plastics than I do, and we're going to be hearing from Joe, the fearless leader of Plasticity, and from Chris from Logoplast, and we are going to be hearing also about an initiative that we're launching here called the Ocean Friendly Design Forum, we being themselves, and the Global Ocean Commission, which I co-chair. But allow me, if I may, friends, to kind of zoom out a minute from this gathering to share with you what I'm looking up at as coming up over the horizon as a great opportunity, a great wave to ride if we get things right and we get a lot of different groups like this one energized and moving in the same direction. So, the narrative goes something like this. We all had high hopes and expectations going into Copenhagen COP15. That we were going to solve the issue, governments were going to come together, we were going to reach an agreement, and we would march strongly into a low-carbon economy, setting ourselves on a different trajectory from the one that we've had so far. Those dreams were shattered, and as we came out and dived, or took a dive, that dive was turbocharged by the global economy going into a tailspin, which has taken the eye off the ball of the greatest challenge, but also the greatest opportunity that we have faced as humanity, which is climate change and moving on to a reinvention of our economy and our livelihoods along low carbon that would create the jobs, investment opportunities, entrepreneurial possibilities, and everything that we need to reactivate the global economy in a much more friendly and sustainable way. So, we've bottomed out. We're beginning to feel some strong ground under our feet. I would like to propose, I always see the glass at least 3/4 full, and going into COP, whatever the number is in Paris, end of 2015, I see that we are gaining some momentum and gaining some traction that we can all support and move together on. So, on the one side, you have the new government in China, now new of several months, that has literally, with these words, declared a war on pollution. We'll take that. Means carbon reductions. They are closing down 50,000 furnaces, burning coal, over the next 5 years. They're putting together with Rocky Mountain Institute a Reinventing Fire China book, which is going to be the backbone of their new 5-year plan that begins as of 2016. They are building 27 nuclear plants. Now, We may all have different opinions on nuclears. I would like to see us go completely towards renewables. But I think that nuclear is part of the energy mix as we move forward into the land of renewables. And they are doing so in breathtaking speed. A lot of momentum, a lot of traction. On that, you also have the announcement by the US President Obama of a couple of weeks ago, lowering emissions by 30% with respect to a 2005 baseline by 2030. That's huge, huge. Not sure if you captured it, but 2 days ago the Supreme Court came down on a ruling that is even bigger, because it actually says that carbon emissions exist, that they are a pollutant, and that EPA has all the right to go in and see what it can do with respect to that. That's huge in terms of where the debate on that has been in this country. So now you have China moving. You have the US moving. You have a new government in India, Prime Minister Modi, with his type of nationalism, but he needs to reinvent his economy. And what a great way it would be for India to reinvent its economy if they started off by the energy sector. So, great opportunity there for a public-private partnership. We're talking to some Indian business tycoons like Narayana Murthy out of Infosys, and like Ratan Tata, who serves on the Global Ocean Commission, and like Mr. Ambani of the Reliance Group, to strike together, to lead and to strike together a public-private partnership with the new government in India that has a punch and that drives forward the regeneration of economic activity in that country, beginning from the energy base. It would be huge in terms of their health standards as they get off coal, kerosene, etc., and onto renewables as well. So if we arrive in Paris, December of next year, with all of this additional sail wind behind our sails, and we have Europe, who has always been very progressive and a leader on this, we could be seeing here a real opportunity for a tipping change in terms of getting agreements that hold and move us further. All of that needs a lot of support. And your work here makes it all the more relevant. What we're doing to our oceans is absolutely detrimental to life on the planet. You know so well it produces 50% of our oxygen, 25% of our carbon emissions. We fetch from the ocean 80 million tons of protein per year, which if we fished it in a sustainable way, could be brought up to 120 million tons per year. Worse is what we're doing on the high seas, beyond the 200 miles, because those high seas that belong to everyone, therefore belong to no one. Less than 10% of the catch comes from the high seas. And yet, in these economic times, some governments around the world are spending $30 billion per year in subsidies to enable fishing on the high seas that is absolutely negative with respect to the fishing possibilities of 144 countries that have EEZs and many livelihoods that depend on this. So in the report of the Global Ocean Commission, which we have just released today and officially launching this evening, we have 8 recommendations that would reverse the degradation of the ocean from where it is today and set us off on a new trajectory in terms of recuperating its health. The last one of those is a call to the international community that if we have not seen progress on these other issues within 5 years, the international community should close down the high seas, all types of activities, until, and consider it a regeneration zone, until we're able to get our act together with respect to the ocean again. One of these concrete recommendations is, how do we deal with plastics? Tough nut to crack. I hope you come up with some good solutions. We are told by scientists that if we continue at the present rate of plastics going into the ocean without doing anything, by 2050 we would have another 33 billion tons of plastics in the ocean. Now, that is no way towards the future. So it makes your work even more relevant here. And I wanted to stop by to first share these thoughts with you, Secondly, invite you to look at the larger picture of what's happening up there and see if we can all ride that surf and that wave into reaching international agreements, because ocean health on the one side and climate change on the other side are like two sides of the same coin going forward. And thirdly, to thank you for your work, which I believe is absolutely relevant to small countries like Costa Rica, but much more importantly, to the world at large. Muchísimas gracias.
Just gonna wait for our slides. Thank you, Jose Maria. It's a great honor to be sharing the stage with you. So I'm going to wait for some slides. But I'm here to introduce the Ocean Friendly Design Forum. And before I do so, I was going to give you a little insight into a voyage that got us here today. So we've got some slides. Great. So I'm going to speak about the Ocean Friendly Design Forum. But first of all, I'll give you a little insight into a voyage that got me here today. And who knows how to use this? Okay. So it's August 2010. And I am sat in the middle of the Pacific on a boat that we'd built ourselves primarily out of plastic bottles. It's the middle of the night, the sea is huge and the wind is howling, and it felt like the Plasticity is about to capsize. And I'm responsible for a crew of 5 guys, and I'm thinking to myself, is this really the best way to showcase solutions to reducing the amount of plastic that ends up in our sea? And I'll give you an insight. Can we change the slide and put it on the...
They've been expecting bad weather.
Can you see this?
Prepare the crew for what hits them.
Big wave! Big wave! Big wave!
The crew need to act fast to get the mainsail down, to prevent the wind from tearing it to shreds, or worse still, bringing the whole mast over.
I don't think this clicker's up there. So we sailed 11,000 miles for 4 months from San Francisco to Sydney to test the design strength of the Plasticity, which we designed according to some of Bill's principles to be the first closed-loop trans-ocean sailing vessel. But the Plasticity was more than a boat build. It was to create a platform to allow the exploration of solutions to reduce the amount of plastic that ends up in the sea. So we built the first closed-loop designed trans-ocean sailing vessel from inside the waste stream to really consider the value of what we perceive to be waste. Collaborative problem solving invented a low toxicity, highly recyclable boat building material. It invented this high performance sailcloth made from post-consumer plastic bottles, and it invented a honey and cashew nut glue. The Plasticity was a campaign trigger that raised awareness globally to say marine plastic pollution is a huge problem. It's our collective responsibility, and it poses really exciting opportunities to come together to innovate. And the Ocean Friendly Design Forum picks up this challenge. Through working with organisations with the greatest influence and impact, we hope the forum provides the opportunity to scale these solutions. We want to facilitate collaboration that creates a shift in design thinking and innovates materials and products that can be perceived to be ocean friendly. Our aim is to work together to design out the 1 million tonnes of plastic waste that enters our seas through an adventurous exploration of the challenge and a collaborative development and implementation of ocean-friendly design standards. Reducing the amount of plastic in the sea requires redesigning complex supply chain systems and innovating new materials, and such challenges require really long-term strategies that to date have proven a barrier to action. Members of the Ocean Friendly Design Forum are represented across the Circular Network, which has been created by the Great Recovery, a pioneering closed-loop initiative. The Circular Network considers all the disciplines influencing or involved in the invention, the production or use or disposal of materials that might be found in the ocean. So far, we've had conversations with over 100 representatives from across this network, some of whom are considering their material impact on the sea or even on the environment for their first time, and some of whom are much further along this journey. And some of our members are here today, such as the Global Ocean Commission and Logoplast, and Ecover is represented, and the Gulbenkian Foundation and Interface. Waste is a design flaw, and this fact we probably all know in this room, that 80% of a product's environmental impact is designed in at concept stage. Materials are designed for assembly and not for material. Products are designed for assembly and not for material recovery. And I always think of the toothbrush as the pin-up for this philosophy. Five different plastic materials all bonded together, a little bit of metal in there to hold the bristles into place. So what? This toothbrush lasts in our possession for, say, I don't know, 3 months maybe, but lasts on the planet for far longer than we will. These toothbrushes end up on beaches all over the world, and only last week I received this image from a friend who's a scientist on the Chagos Islands, which is this wonderful, the world's largest marine protected reserve. With the Ocean Friendly Design Forum, we look at designing through these 4 principles of circularity to design out the waste of valuable resources and design in recovery systems. And what's interesting here that the consumers are really critical. So it's not only looking at the design of materials and products, but also looking at the design of recovery systems. Designing out marine plastic pollution provides material security, brand provenance, and a sustainable growth economy. There's huge potential for new business opportunities that work to increase social, environmental, and ecological capital. And one of our founding members is Ecover, who have positioned their brand to be at the heart of the conversation through designing this bottle, which has a percentage of sea plastic in. This is by no means a solution or a finishing point for Ecover. It's the start of their conversation. Our first phase of work looks at strategically, collaboratively, road mapping, commitment to these quite often, frequently talked about design principles which would improve the health of our seas. And you know about them, but you can read them. We've all heard about the facts of marine plastic pollution, whether we read a fact that says around 8% of all plastic produced ends up in our sea. It wasn't until about 10 years ago, when I realised a childhood dream and sailed to the Antarctic, that I was walking along this astonishingly remote and absolutely beautiful beach and was greeted by plastic. This is a memory that created feelings that I shall never forget. The scale of this problem is huge, and it certainly isn't about litter, it's definitely about design. This isn't a blame game, and we're certainly not saying that plastic is bad. We're saying that we need a systems rethink, and we need to expand the design brief. You really wouldn't want your logo to be found on a piece of plastic in the Antarctic or on the Chagos Islands. The ocean is our common treasury, and we do have a collective responsibility to ensure resilient oceans. Collectively, we need to take ownership of this issue, and we are doing so by the exciting, forward-thinking and practical action conversations we've had today. And tonight, the Global Ocean Commission's report will really raise the awareness of the need to design out marine plastic pollution to some of the world's most influential leaders. We do need to bear in mind that working collaboratively sounds a nice thing to do, but it does pose huge problems, such as those around intellectual property. Are we all happy to hand over our IP in the spirit of driving innovation forward, like Tesla have done? The Ocean Friendly Design Forum has been launched to tackle the cause of the problem, to stop plastic entering the sea through redesign. We want to focus on where plastic is coming from. We will continue to investigate innovation gaps, practically test solutions, and spot priorities for action with those organisations that know their products and systems best. Our role is to act as the honest broker, to allow this dialogue of asking tricky questions that can make brands feel quite vulnerable. It's about dialogue, pre-competitive collaboration, innovation, and most importantly, practical action to find new opportunities in material efficiency. But the success of the Ocean Friendly Design Forum depends on those who participate, and there's many ways that you can join this exciting voyage. You can become a member, you can join our next workshop in London in November, but you can be open to share your expertise and your resources. So consider this a call for action. Let's unite our collective wisdom and our expertise and strategically roadmap action to create abundant and alive oceans through great design. I now have the pleasure to hand over to Chris Clark from Logoplast Innovation Labs, who have been hugely supportive in the development in the concept stage of Ocean Friendly Design Forum with their expertise in material innovation.
Thank you, Jay. I'm just going to hand this around so you can all have a quick look. Some slides, please. Hello, it's a pleasure to be here with you all today at Plasticity, and certainly to share the stage with both Joe and Jose. I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about how using less packaging and smarter packaging design is actually less bad for our oceans, and showcase some studies of recent work that support these principles. In 1976, Logoplast was founded in Portugal as a supplier of plastic packaging and bottles. In 1992, we were asked by one of our partners to support internationally, and in orange you can see the global presence of Logoplast today. The Logoplast manufacturing model is based on the hole-in-the-wall concept filling at source and eliminating traditional methods of transporting empty packaging. It removes complex logistics and associated costs and reduces significantly our packaging footprints. The Logoplast Innovation Lab was founded as an independent company to support the research and development of high-performance plastic packaging solutions. The country hub's strategically placed to offer the best packaging development services to our partners. Logoplast has a live sustainability agenda mapped out, which incorporates packaging design and material selection choice. We engage to work with our partners and to promote the best, most sustainable opportunities. By best packaging designs, we refer to this not only from an aesthetical point of view, but from an environmental and sustainability perspective. The fusion concept supports this process. The model integrates all of the CAD, packaging engineering support, trials lab, raw materials, FEA, and design requirements under the same umbrella, allowing us to fully close the plastic packaging loop. Raw materials, sustainability, and legislation fit naturally within this model, as supporting new material developments and testing long-term capability are circles that Logoplast works actively to support. Consider, ladies and gentlemen, the benefits of polymers with excellent mechanical properties that don't want to be around in 100 years' time. Interesting developments are today being explored using nano-barrier materials, using less to deliver the same performance. Recently, through working closely with a partner in the UK, we were able to redesign and optimise the complete packaging portfolio so that we use 3,000 metric tonnes of plastic less per year, and 30% of that volume was 100% recycled PET. Smarter packaging, packaging that looks aesthetically the same but performs better. We're working materials harder, we're stretching materials harder, and we're creating a better performance from these materials. Educating and raising awareness is a responsibility to make the right decisions. Design metrics is a tool that's been developed to evaluate best packaging design. The metrics tool evaluates the Logoplast industrial process and also the partner's industrial process, along with sustainability vectors built in. Rather than constraining, it supports a decision-making process that enables design to be feasibly and subjectively reviewed. End result, less bad packaging. Biomimicry metrics is also a tool used to evaluate life's principles from a design perspective. Our innovation bias shows biomimicry factors firmly placed at the nucleus of our design model. Using biomimicry principles allows us to learn and emulate nature's natural forms and create the most sustainable designs. We tend to think we're almost superhuman. Superhuman from the point of view that we know better than Mother Nature. And that as a rule we have all the answers. Well, not strictly true. We've made a pretty bad job of keeping our oceans free of waste. Instead, we created a new continent. And now we need to design out the problems, create system fixes and employ new strategies. These points recently mentioned by both Joe and Jose. Nature has managed to survive quite well, having, it seems, all the answers it needs for survival. And using biomimicry helps mentor our approach to packaging design. The Vitalis water bottle is formed by using the structures, the natural form and structures of the silver pine bark, by using the structures that makes this tree survive adverse weather conditions, creates a natural packaging strength that enables a 20% weight reduction by mimicry. Ecover, as you will see by the bottle that's being passed around, have combined cleaning dishes with cleaning the oceans. and we were delighted to support Ecova's recent developments on this special edition bottle. Ecova hope to inspire others to follow the trend and have committed to using 1 metric tonne of ocean waste material this year, with a view to using 3 metric tonnes next year. The Ecova ocean bottle uses 10% ocean plastic, the remainder being made up from post-consumer recycled material. The biomimicry structures, made up of radiolarians and diatoms, forms of marine plankton, aid the specific design requirements you can see on the bottle and allow a 20% weight reduction to deliver the same performance under load. Packaging that is inspired by nature and that uses less plastic to meet its objectives. A case that less plastic must be less bad for our ocean and the environment. We will continue to push the boundaries of design. After all, our social environmental values connect us to the oceans. We've worked with the Waste-Free Oceans to support ocean plastic waste cleaning projects. The chairman of Logoplast, Mr. Marcel de Bouton, sits on as president of the Portuguese Plastic Industry Association, which actively supports fishing for litter in Portugal. And in partnership with Joe and the Ocean Friendly Design Forum, we work as a technical partner, supporting technical developments and testing new solutions, while maintaining to help and to promote communication channels within industry. Packaging is the largest waste sector that we have, and our view is that if we always do what we've always done, we'll always get what we always had. The aim is to bring about change, and we see ourselves as a natural partner to support this process. Thank you very much.
That's Chris Clark, Logoplast. I'm afraid maybe we have time for one quick question, but it's got to be really quick. And here's one, Joe. Do you want to just speak up and I'll try to